So it's time for one final race in GT Cup Europe in 2024. We've raced all across Europe, but the championship is a three-way fight here at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. 50 minutes of racing to come to decide the title between Mertel Motorsports, GDL Racing and Q1 Track Racing. The number 11 Q from the Belgian squad of Nicolas Eilens and Stinus Longin took a vital third win of the season yesterday. That put them at the head of the championship. And as you can see, conditions far improved compared to when we were racing yesterday. We have the sun out and the dry track as well, so the slick tyres, even better conditions than what we had in qualifying this morning as well. That was another wet affair, where it was the Racevent team that put their number 26 wildcard entry from Ludovico Larini on pole position for this final race of the weekend. Championship contenders Nicolas Eilens and Luca Ludwig starting alongside each other, with Matteo Levisi down in 9th position. So for one last time in 2024, it's Chris Stevens and George Morgan in the commentary box.
Yeah, fantastic to be here at Monza, the Temple of Speed, now for the last dance in the 2024 GT Cup Open Europe season. Hello everybody from around the globe as we look to bring an end to what has been some campaign indeed. And what a momentous run it was yesterday for Nicolas Eilens, Stinus Longin. Yet another victory, making it 3 to equal with Ivan Velasco, Luca Ludwig, as well as Matteo Levisi and Federico Al Rafai for the season. Those are our 3 contenders for the championship here this afternoon. The sun beating down, a vastly different outlook to what we have seen in prior days coming into the weekend. It has been a deluge. Well, today, in this afternoon in particular, it has been shining all around, and around this circuit that has brought us many great races in the past. We're going to be in line, I think, for a little bit of a treat. And I mean, how about this setup that we have here coming into the closing stages of the campaign? It is an Italian on pole position with Ludovico Larini, who is on top. Alongside him, though, Nathan Braun's, Fabio Babini on the second row as well. But there's one of our championship contenders, of course, driven by Luca Ludwig in the opening stint. It will eventually fall into the hands of Ivan Velasco to take the latter portion of this outing around this Italian track. It could be a momentous day for Mertel Motorsport. The big question is, though, can Q1 Track Racing launch their own approval here with Stinus Longin and Nicolas Eilens, who join them in this fight? It's going to be very tight indeed. Matteo Levisi and Federico Al Rafai, remember, Al Rafai, former Saudi F4 champion, jumping into sports cars for the first time this campaign, has been so impressive as well. We look back at some phenomenal results. Their first win coming back at Hockenheim in round 2, not to mention winning in race 2 at Spa-Francorchamps, very nearly going back-to-back through the Barcelona weekend until a big moment upset them in race 2, but they went from lights to flag in race 1 and took pole back at Barcelona as well. So don't count them out, they'll have every chance.
And of course, it's not just the overall championship we have to decide, it is the AM championship as well. Dieter Streps and Leandro Martins in that 911 Racar Porsche leads Nico van Dierendonck in the Q1 Track Racing Porsche number 57 by 7 points. So for Van Dierendonck to overturn that, he'd have to win and then hope that the Racar finishes outside of the top 5, which is quite a tall order, but of course anything can happen, not only here at Monza, but in a championship finale as well. The number 80 Mertel Ferrari of Luca Ludwig, who's been a busy boy this weekend, also racing at Ferrari Mondiali in Imola. The Mertel team has been helicoptering him between the 2 racetracks, and now we'll round out his weekend with GT Cup Europe as he looks to fight for the title. But the Ferrari is up against it here this weekend. We had thought that this would be quite a strong track for the Ferraris, and now the conditions have dried out. It should still favour them, but we hear they are a little bit tight on fuel for the 50-minute race, so we will see how that pans out. Of course, the Porsches designed a little bit more with endurance racing in mind, because they have their own class at the Nürburgring 24 hours, whereas Ferrari 8 Challenge machinery is more designed for the Ferrari Challenge 1 Make Series, which is much more of a sprint format. So doing 50 minutes, not really what the car was designed for, but balance of performance in this championship does wonders, and we have incredible battles between the 2 brands. We also have the Lamborghini Super Trofeo out for this weekend as well. And two championship contenders starting alongside one another. But the difference is that Q1 Track Racing and GDL will be taking handicap in their pit stops, mandatory pit stops, but then also going for them as well is the fact that Salins and Levisi, they're the bronze drivers in their cars, whereas Luca Ludwig is very much the pro in their Pro-Am lineup. So, yeah, it's a bit 6 of one, half a dozen of the other when you tot up what is going for and against all three of the contenders. But the wildcard entry from Race Event locked out the third row yesterday in qualifying, but today it's pole position for Ludovico Laurini, former Euroformula Open racer back in 2017, but this year competing in Italian GT with the Race Event squad, moving over from Porsche Carrera Cup Italy with the Dynamic team, and the Ampole sitter as well, starting on the front row with the grid as well. Nathan Braun's rounding out his first year in GT competition with the Q1 Track Racing team in rather incredible style, with a front row qualifying performance. The former Fun Cup racer. Here is one of our championship contenders, Nicola Salins, new championship leader after their third win yesterday, taking it away from this car.
Yeah, Nicola Salins seen as long in after yesterday's victory, though it does throw a bit of a spanner in the works, seeing as they will have to take some success handicap to go along with that. They'll be serving 10 seconds during the course of the pit stop phase. Evgeny Leonov starting from 6th place, just in behind Luca Ludwig, has had his own fair share of fun this season as well, and would love to close this out with a first win this season. Has already landed 2 podiums through the course of this campaign. Arturo Melgar starting in 7th place as well for the Mertel team, looking to get away to a strong start. And then in behind, a new fresh livery for Glauco Solieri, lining up in 8th place, representing in the AM class. Again, a servant for the GT Cup Open Championship, has been now for a good number of years, and great to see him back here on this Italian circuit. But as we now pan across down through the order from top to tail, we have got an immense fight on our hands to decide the fate of this championship. 3 cars, all with a chance of taking it in terms of the overall, but we do also have that AM scrap. But it's going to be sensational to see as Laurini will lead them off. Nathan Braun, though, will be on a charge.
Let's take a look back at highlights from yesterday's race 1. Very different conditions as the 2 championship rivals barreled into the first corner. It was Stina Slongin who led Federico Aurafai as the 2 Race Event teammates went side by side. Also side by side between 2 Mertel teammates as Jorge Cabezas got it all wrong on the exit of Lesmo 2 and allowing Ivan Velasco into 4th position it was at the time, but the Spaniard did struggle for a little bit of pace out there, having to cut across the first chicane. He ended up staying out quite late in the race. Dieter Streps tried to make progress up the field, and then losing out, getting past Ivan Velasco as well, who was reporting of misfirings as well, and then spent an awful long time in the pits while they checked over the engine bay of that car. And finally, Luca Ludwig arrived on the scene to take the car over. Nicola Salins while in the lead, having this moment at the first Lesmo, but luckily he had a 10-second lead that meant he hung on to it, and a very timely 3rd victory of the season for the number 11 Q1 Track Racing pairing in yesterday's race 1 that ended almost in darkness, gives them the championship lead. Here's how it lines up in the championship going into the finale. Velasco and Ludwig lead, but when you apply the drop scores, it is Nicola Salins and Stina Slongin 1 point ahead of Velasco and Ludwig, with Levisi and Aurafai in third. 50 minutes of racing to determine the championship for GT Cup Europe in 2024 as the formation lap gets underway for this final encounter of the season, with the Pro-Am and AM Championship still to be decided. The Teams Championship has been decided for the 4th time in a row in favour of Q1 Track Racing. Here's how they line up for this final race of the season. Ludovico Laurini for Race Event starts on pole position, with Nathan Braun's getting the AM pole and a front row start for Q1 Track Racing. Fabio Babini in the Tsunami car starts alongside championship leader Nicola Salins in 4th. Second in the championship, Luca Ludwig in 5th position, ahead of Evgeny Leonov, hoping to round out his season with another podium finish. Arturo Melga, another Mertel car in 7th, ahead of Glauco Solieri, 2nd of the AM runners in 8th position. Then comes Matteo Levisi, another championship contender in 9th, ahead of Constantino Peroni, the 2nd of the race-fed cars. Further back into the AM battle, Johannes Zelga, he was 3rd in class yesterday, ahead of Nico van Dierendonk, trying to usurp Rakkar for the AM Championship, Pascal Baumann and Pacman, and then the AM Championship leader, Leandro Martins. Tommaso Lavati starts ahead of Mauro Trentin, 2 Mertel cars line astern on the grid. Kamel Perian for RO1 Racing, and then another Mertel car, this time the 82 of Mark Spikavaz in 18th position. 19th goes to Annie Frozio, and then Filippo Radino in another guest entry car, the HRT by PS Performance. On the back row with the grid, Luciano Priviatello and the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and Jim McCallion, the Grand Prix of Long Beach CEO, at the back of the field in 22nd place. So, George, 3 different crews from 3 different teams going for the championship.
Yeah, it's the tale of 2 Porsches, 2 Porsche teams, as well as a Mertel Ferrari in this fight. So a 3-way scrap and a grand thing to witness. Of course, Q1 Track Racing would win the title not too long ago with Jan Larison, and they'll be hoping they can do the same this time with Nicholas Salins and Stina Slongin, who have been utterly phenomenal as well through the course of this campaign. It's only really come at the very late stage they've managed to take the championship lead with drop scores applied, as we see Ivan Velasco there just waiting in the pits. Obviously, the car's just getting warmed up. We're under formation lap procedure. Obviously, it's going to come down to Ludovico Larini to get the start. Of course, Nathan Braun's is going to be no easy man to stop. Keep your eyes peeled on Fabio Babini as well, known for his raw pace and ability. So experienced as well behind the wheel of Porsches. So we'll have a great chance ahead of the race start as we now watch them come out of the Ascari chicane. Obviously, big question marks, obviously, to see how firm Luca Ludwig's hand is in this opening stint as well. Remember, he'll be handing over to Ivan Velasco later on for this second stint. It's going to be very tight. It's going to be tough. How they strategize this race is going to be intriguing. Don't forget those success handicaps. There are 5 distributed across 5 cars. So let's see how this pans out.
2x2 formation being settled on the back straight towards the Curva Alboreto. It will be the 27-year-old from Fidenza who leads the Belgian driver, Nathan Braun's, who won't be used to having such a clear view of the racetrack at the start. As we mentioned, this is his first year of GT racing, and another new circuit to him as well. He's been learning all of them, save Spa, but he'll be handing over to Laurent van der Velde in the second half of the race. 2 championship contenders starting 4th, 5th and 9th, remember, as the cars make their way up towards the start and finish straight. We await for the 5 red lights to be extinguished and get the 2024 GT Cup Europe season finale underway. Good start from the pole sitter, Larini holding on, and Fabio Babini charging up as well through the middle between he and the Q1 Track Racing car. So we're going to go 3 wide towards the Rettifilio for the first time of asking. Babini braking very, very late, but Nicolas Salin's making contact with everyone going into the first corner. Has he damaged his car? That is one of the championship contending cars, and he's taken off. Evgeny Leonov as well, and through on the inside could come Luca Ludwig there. He's charged past the Q1 Track Racing car and into 3rd position, but what an absolute mess at the start of this race.
And Ludwig making his way around Curva Grande ahead of Nicolas Salins as well. So there has been discrepancy. We saw a part fly off one of the cars further back. I'm not sure.
I think it was Salins again. He made contact with Mark Spikavaz in the orange Mertel car. Plenty of cars have been skipping and bouncing over the cars. Over the curves. I think poor Nathan Braun's is the one who's been shuffled all the way down back into the midfield there, but it is Fabio Babini who leads Larini and Ludwig. That much we can say. Look, there's Nathan Braun's all the way down.
Goodness me, there was a car parked off. Now, it looked like a Belgian flag on the side of it. Surely it wasn't the car belonging to our championship leaders by any chance. Extraordinary. I can't see them coming down the straight at Serralio, and it looked like it was parked in the first Lesmo, just at the side of the road. We'll have to recapture that. I'm not seeing it, Chris. There it is.
My goodness me, the car that took the lead of the championship yesterday, and I think that is some suspension damage. That front right looks very askew. So suddenly it has been blown wide open. Q1 Track Racing took the lead of the championship yesterday, and before we even get to the end of the first lap, they are out of the running.
They didn't even barely get out of this first sector. Coming into sector 2, it just all came
Well,
it
they
just
didn't
all
even
went
get
wrong.
to turn one before it went wrong.
Well, yeah, but obviously he's parking the car around the first Lesmo. Just saw it in the background coming to a halt. I could not believe my goggling bins, everybody. Parking up in the gravel trap. And that's now handed a full-on opportunity. It now basically comes down to 2 cars. Obviously, in this case, it's Ludwig, and not forgetting Matteo Levisi, who currently sits 8th place at this stage, just ahead of Nathan Braun's, just behind Nicholas van Dierendonck. Mark Spiekervos leading the AM category as it stands with Trentin. Mauro Trentin currently sat AM second in 6th. Van Dierendonck obviously looking to claim as much points as he can in order to give himself the best chance. Here's the replay, Chris.
Right, well, thank you for the Welsh slang lesson, first of all there, George. We see the replay of the start. So Babini through the middle, and Salins just bangs and hits everyone. He manages to make contact with about 3 or 4 cars before they even get to the first corner. Then takes off Evgeny Leonov as well, who has the worst luck in this paddock out of absolutely everyone. And my goodness me, Larini was so early on the brakes because he was tight to the inside. That is what has caught Nicolas Salins out in all of that. The closing speed between him and Larini has just absolutely caught him out. And hopefully we're going to see how he ended up in the gravel. There is Luka Ludwig blasting past him on the run out there. We're not going to see how he ended up in the gravel. I think maybe it's just because he didn't have the front suspension pointing in the right direction, because it did look a little wobbly out there. But my goodness me, you could not make it up, George, could you?
Just truly bizarre, it has to be said. I mean, it just obviously ran a little too deep coming in towards turn 1. That was the essentially the moment. We just saw a couple of marshals just sprinting across as well. Obviously, under safety car procedure, this allows obviously for the track to be cleared, and fantastic effort here from the marshals to be as attentive as possible and ensuring that the cars are rounding this circuit in a safe manner. Truly unbelievable here on part of the Belgian outfit. Q1 Track Racing, they came in with so much promise. They had the leverage in their favour, really. Of course, we still had to factor in the success handicap they would have had to take after winning yesterday's race 1. But now all of a sudden go from being on top of the world to have your day and your weekend slip away. You can just see the Q1 Track Racing car of Nicholas Salins coming to a grinding halt. Here's the onboard. Yeah, had 0 rotation with the car. Obviously, must be some kind of suspension, steering arm damage.
I was just going to say it's either a steering arm or, broken suspension. Right, safety car is coming in this lap, so we'll quickly run you through the order. Fabio Babini leads Ludovico Larini, Luca Ludwig, and Constantino Peroni from 10th to 4th. In AM, it's Mark Spiekervos who now leads in the orange number 82 Mertel Motorsport car, ahead of his teammate in the 81 Mauro Trentin, and then Nico van Dierendonck trying to take the AM Championship. Running solo this weekend, we must remember. His teammate Bogdan Duma not running this weekend, so he sits in 3rd. Matteo Levisi 8th in the other championship contending car. Nathan Braun's down to 9th from the front row of the grid. Johannes Zelger completes the top 10 as Fabio Babini puts his foot to the floor to get this race back underway. He's got the jump on Ludovico Larini. Will Ludwig be able to get the jump on Larini as well? So as it stands, the championship would be going to the number 80 Mertel crew, but still with 44 minutes left to decide this race as Ludwig follows in the wheel tracks. He's in a race event sandwich going down the front straight with Peroni just behind him as well. So going into the Rettifilio chicane once again. Lots of curb being taken by Larini, but no way through for Ludwig on that occasion. Bit of side-by-side with Johannes Zelger, getting his elbows out with the 84 of Arturo Melgar, who was trying to go around the outside, and it could be the sister car, Tommaso Lavati, in the 83, who gets around the outside. No, not quite, but 2 teammates very much line astern here. Lavati, the new teammate to Laura van den Hengel, the Dutch cowgirl. But their race ended a little prematurely yesterday as Lavati again looks on the inside of Melgar into the second chicane this time, but no way through. As that GDL, Matteo Levisi having to defend from Nathan Braun's, that must be. Yes, it is. So he's in a Q1 Track Racing sandwich himself as well, with Van Dierendonck just in front of him. He's either side of 2 AM cars. And here comes Levisi now trying to usurp the man second in the AM Championship. Arturo Melgar now making the move on Johannes Zelger as well for the last spot inside the top 10. Nathan Braun's trying to go alongside his teammate here, but it is Levisi around the outside of Ascari, and just kicking up a little bit of gravel there. That's not going to do him any favours at all, but it is Van Dierendonck now under pressure from Nathan Braun's. Now he's going to take points away from the car that's fighting for the AM Championship, and it's worth remembering as well that Van Dierendonck is one of the team managers of his Q1 track racing outfit, so but he makes the move anyway, and that is third position in AM, as Melgar's still trying to get this move done on Johannes Zelga, but Ferrari power should serve him quite well here. Lavati waiting in the wings as well, but the pair go side by side down the front straight. Melgar might have to yield that one on the outside line, going for the Rettifilio. Tommaso Lavati looking on the inside, decides to back out of it, probably very wisely, as Melgar again tried to get around the outside but couldn't do it. And it's almost the exact same situation it was a lap ago now, with Tommaso Lavati in 83 trying to out-drag Arturo Melgar. Melgar with a new teammate this weekend as well in the form of Alba Vasquez, and they swap positions, so it's now 83 ahead of 84.
Yeah, and an update as well in terms of the driver's standings. Bear in mind, we're not incorporating the drop scores in this one, but Ivan Velasco and Luca Ludwig on 100 points at the top of the shop. Matteo Levisi and Federico Alrafai, as a consequence of Nicholas Salins and Stinas Longin now bowing out of the race, jump straight into P2 as it stands now. If we factor in the drop score side of things coming into this race, there was, of course, 87 points going the way of Matteo Levisi and Federico Alrafai, with 90 in the palm of Velasco, as well as Luca Ludwig. So
100 points, that is taking in the drop scores, I think, George, because they get 10 for third position, so put them on 100.
Yeah, so there we go. Obviously then factoring in those points, we'll obviously have to wait and see what Levisi can do. His opening stint is going to be so key because, of course, obviously they have got the success penalty handicap to obviously get through. They've got 5 seconds that they've got to take when they come into the pit stop phase. That will open up in 12 minutes and 2 seconds time. And then, of course, it will be the turn of Federico Alrafai, the Saudi F4 champion, who'll be looking to usher in what could yet be a phenomenal weekend for them if they can sign off with a huge chance at taking this championship. But taking down a driver pairing like Ludwig as well as Velasco is going to be a challenge. Lavati moving up to 9th as well, ahead of Van Dierendonck, and Zelga down in 11th now. So Lavati now well within the top 10.
They look to be side by side for the lead now, but contact further back, including the Van Dierendonck car that's going for the championship. Johannes Zelga with a smoking front right tyre, and one of the Myrtel cars, one of the white ones involved in that. I fear that might be the 83, as they were squabbling earlier on. So we'll wait for confirmation out of that, but that is the 57 Q1 track racing car of Nico Van Dierendonck that was going for the AM Championship. That will now seal it for Rakkar, for Dieter Schweppes, and for Leandro Martins. That all got very, very messy going into the first corner. We're back under safety car conditions, and it was Tommaso Lavati in the 83. Poor Laura van den Hengel's not even going to get a chance to drive this weekend. And Johannes Zelga, after a podium in the AM category yesterday, his season ends at the side of the road. Not good at all for the team. The marshals there on hand, though, to clear the damage. Still Babini, though, up at the front. He got a great start, didn't he, whilst all the chaos was happening in behind. Ethan Braun's, who slipped down a few places, obviously, remember, started on the front row alongside Babini, now down in 8th place, but ushered in the fastest lap of the race in the last lap. Here's the moment again. So it's Van Dierendonck just closing the door ever so slightly on Zelga, not quite leaving the space. So they then make contact and ricochet into Tommaso Lavati, who's very much the innocent party there. But you see, yeah, it wasn't quite enough space there, was there, for a Porsche Cup car on the outside. So yeah, through with the clean line goes Leandro Martins, who is now unchallenged in terms of the AM Championship. Very thankful that Van Dierendonck stopped before rejoining the racetrack. There's nothing that scares me more than cars that are out of control rejoining the circuit, but came to a stop, which is quite a miracle, because there's probably still quite a lot of water in the grass out there, but you can see debris across the racetrack. We're back under safety car conditions. So this will be a mildly annoying for those who have got their quick driver in, Fabio Babini, Luca Ludwig, of course, because it means they're not stretching their legs. Of course, for the Ferrari cars, this means they can save a little bit of fuel, because we understand they were going to be a little bit tight on that for a 50-minute race and having to do some lift and coast to make sure they get to the finish. This will take care of that.
Well, what this does do for Matteo Lovisi as well allows him to close up to the back of Luca Ludwig, so at least they can try and close that delta as much as possible. The last thing they want is to be caught too far behind. Remember, they've still got Trentin, Speakervos, Peroni sat between them and their championship contenders. And on top of that, bear in mind, they've got to serve that 5 seconds, so they can't afford to delay. They need to be in a position where they are up close and personal with Luca Ludwig to give themselves the best chance. Obviously, I'd imagine Federico Alrifai will jump in the car at the first time of asking. We haven't got long, really, until the driver change opens up. It's 8 minutes and 30. That can dissipate very quickly, especially under safety car conditions where all of a sudden things slow down a great deal. But at this point, Babini still at the head of the order, and it's going to be on him to get the restart underway when the safety car does eventually come in. We can tell you, obviously, folks, the incident involving the cars 83, 79 and 57 at turn 1 is under investigation. Nothing has come of it just yet, but one thing's for sure, all 3 of them out of the race.
Yep, and we saw Tommaso Lavati there just taking off his helmet, but you can see there wasn't space for a Porsche Cup car there when Zelga was alongside him, and Tommaso Lavati, the innocent party in that incident. Really not much he could have done about that, save for disappearing completely off the face of the earth. Quite a hard hit into the barriers as well, so I'm sure there'll be quite a bit of damage on that car. So good
been
to
a
see
rough
them all
day for
walking away.
Lavati. It's been a rough day for him. He didn't have a great time in quali, did he? Eventually beaching the car in the gravel trap at Ascari chicane on the escape, and could not get it going again. Of course, was trying to carry.
I think that was in race 1 yesterday.
Tested my memory on this one, but yeah, you might be right. Oh yes, of course it was. But yeah, of course the weekend hasn't necessarily been great on that account. And Laura van den Hengel was preparing to jump in the car. Well, she just done the stint and handed over to Tamara Stavati, and then got stuck in the gravel on the outset of the Ascari. So once again, it's been a sorrowful one for that Mertel partnership.
Yeah. So while we're under safety car, 7 minutes left until the driver change window opens. It's still Fabio Babini ahead of Ludovico Larini and Luca Ludwig in the top 3. Constantino Peroni, so it's still Tsunami, Racevent, then Mertel and Racevent again. In the AM Championship, or the AM standings, it is Mertel 1 and 2 with the 82 of Mark Speakervos leading Mauro Trentin, but it did seem like the Italian GT and touring car racer was challenging his teammate for the AM lead before we went under safety car. Then Matteo Lovisi in 7th position in that championship contending number 67 GDR Porsche. Nathan Braun's now 3rd in the AM category. Arturo Moga up to 9th overall. Glauco Solieri 10th and 4th of the AM runners. So far we have lost Nicolas Salins, Johannes Zelga, Nico van Direndonck and Tommaso Lavati for early casualties. One of them being the overall championship leader, another being an AM championship contender as well. We said at the top of the show, anything can happen in Monza, and well, the proof is in the pudding, very much so.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, this is exactly what championship finales tend to bring. Obviously, generally, when you have tight contests like this, obviously you're going to find moments where drivers are going to want to go wheel to wheel, especially on the final day of asking, where you know, every driver, every team wants to end on a high. But obviously, sometimes you can get sucked into the lowest of lows, and that's precisely what happened at turn 1 for a few drivers, and no one is going to feel that more than the likes of Nicolas Salins as well after that start heading in towards turn 1. So that's 4 cars that have essentially come a cropper and met their maker coming through the first corner here at the Rettifilio. And many of them will be hoping that they're not going to be next, that's for sure. But at this moment, Babini taking them down towards the Roggia, the safety car leading them down. Yellow flags being waved across by the marshals, and it's been quite a feisty affair already, as we have seen. But great news, obviously, on part of the Michelin tyre team, who have announced through the course of a press conference that was staged this weekend, where they announced that a 3-year extension would be placed upon the Michelin tyre becoming the official supplier, or continuing being the official supplier, as it has been over the course of the last 10 years. So fabulous news that we will continue to race cars with Michelin rubber, and we look forward to 2025 when that rolls around in the coming months. But first and foremost, we need to decide a title. Safety car is coming in this lap. It's all on Babini, Laurini, Ludwig, our championship contender. Peroni, Speaker Voz, leading the AMs as well. Lavisi down in 7th, looking to jump them all.
Yep, so the safety car lights will be extinguished. Fabio Babini will get us ready once again to go green, with 32 or so minutes left on the clock, and only about 3.5 minutes until the driver change window opens. Of course, the likes of Babini, Ludwig and co would like to extend that as much as possible. You see Babini weaving across the racetrack, trying to get that Michelin tyres up to temperature. And now focusing on the restart. Luca Ludwig already pulling out to the outside. Is he going to mount a challenge on the race fence car in front of him of Ludovico Laurini? Babini leaving it very, very late because he knows there's a huge slipstreaming opportunity coming his way. And Laurini was hot on his heels through the exit. Laurini with a great restart, and he's going to be all over the chaff of Fabio Babini. When they get across the timing line, he's going to have to wait till they get to the timing line before he can overtake. Now he can pull out of the slipstream, should he choose to do so. He's still hoovering up the toe of the Tsunami Racing Team car that leads. Now pulls to the outside, going towards the Rettifilio, side by side for the lead of the race. Slight lock up there for Babini by the looks of it, who runs out deep, clambers all over the curbing. Surely Ludovico Laurini will have a monumental run around the Curva Grande as the street art Ferrari cuts across the first corner, side by side once again between the leaders. And again, the outside line will be Laurini's, but he might not need before they even get there. He's pulled clear. Here comes Luca Ludwig as well on the outside towards the Della Rosia chicane. Babini just moving across, but it is now Ludovico Laurini who leads for race vent.
Yeah, fantastic effort from Laurini as well. Grand pace he showed in qualifying. Well, he just flexed it once more, heading down the long straight, this time on fellow Porsche driver Fabio Babini. But a Ferrari is also entering the fray, and it's none other than one of our championship contenders, Luca Ludwig, behind the wheel of the Ferrari Challenge as they now blast down the Seraglio straight. In behind as well, we've got Peroni, who sat in 4th, and it looks like Pascal Bachmann just ate up some of the gravel as well on the escape for the Street Art team as they now hustle down in towards the Ascari chicane once again. Further back, Constantino Peroni all over the back of Luca Ludwig as well, just creeping into the fight. Glauco Solieri has moved up to 10th, and so has Leandro Martins after Pascal Bachmann's little error coming through turns 1 and turns 2 as they now venture down towards the final corner on this lap. 30 minutes to go. Babini looking to come straight back at Laurini here, and I wouldn't count him out, especially given the slipstream effect, heading down towards turn 1.
This is the fight for the lead in AM with the two Mertel teammates, Mark Speakervoss and Mauro Trentin, going toe-to-toe. Right behind them, one of the championship contenders, Matteo Lavisi, who doesn't seem to be flying too much on this restart, but it's going to be side by side again with Fabio Babini trying to retake the lead away from Ludovico Laurini. The slipstreaming proving to be very, very strong here, but Babini on the outside can't do anything with it. This time gets it stopped much more nicely. Someone very much didn't, and I think it was the 4th place car of Constantino Peroni. Oh no, it was Nathan Braun's, excuse me. Apologies to Peroni, as it was very close with the other cars. Arturo Melga trying to pounce on Nathan Braun's, but Mauro Trentin ended up losing a spot as Babini with a dive on the inside into Della Rosia, all over the curb. Across the runoff area goes race leader Laurini. Now, will he have to give that place back? Lavisi himself also did so as well. That's problems for the leading car of Mark Speakervoss, who was going very, very slowly out of the second chicane. Here we're going to see that moment again between the leaders. Oh, look at that. A move in the braking zone. That was a bit cheeky from Ludovico Laurini, and Babini did well to get it stopped. Was Laurini went over the escape road. So now into the leading now should be Mauro Trentin. Not sure what happened to Mark Speakervoss's car, but he was moving very slowly out of the Della Rosia chicane.
He's driving down the order.
Yep, it's so problems for Mark Speakervoss. What a shame for them. They were leading in AM in that number 82 car. Remember back to the beginning of the season where it took them about 3 rounds for them to even get a racing lap in, and now leading in AM, and it's been taken away from them. What a shame for them, but it's still a Mertel car that leads in AM. It's the number 81 Mara Trentin, and that looks like that's gone into limp home mode, doesn't it, George?
Certainly does. Lights flashing on the car and trickling slowly down the Seraglio. Driver change window is on, folks. We've got 7 minutes to go left in it. Babini on the hunt again as he looks to try and contest against Ludovico Laurini as they now sprint down towards turn 1. Once more into the pits comes Peroni. Matteo Lovisi jumping at the chance to get into the pits to exchange for Federico Al Rafai. This is a nightmare scenario for Ludwig as well, who's going to be held up with this Porsche battle as they head around Curva Grande. Still Laurini holds on to the advantage. Into the pits comes Giovanni Button coming in place of Peroni, who did the opening stint. Immediately shoves him straight into the car. Button now behind the wheel as they look to strap him up. Still more cars coming in as well. Leandro Martin stepping out. Dieter Schweppes in a bid to become an AM champion this season in the 2024 GT Cup Open season. We're now rejoining our race leaders once more. It's still Laurini coming out to Roger once more. Still ahead of Fabio Babini, 2/10 between them. The slenderest of margins. There is our other budding potential champions. Federico Al Rafai now taking the wheel in place of Matteo Lovisi, with R01 Racing also stepping in. Florentin Sescu and Camel Perrion now swapping together as now we watch them head down the Seraglio again. Changes on. Laurini, Babini, Ludwig needs to get a move on.
At what point, George, do you decide that it's better to be in clean air, even if your second driver is a little bit slower, than just all this squabbling out to the front of the field, which is...
Well, this could really cause a problem for Mertel at this point, because obviously if they're going to continue to tussle and fight, there's Mark Smikavoz's car that's trickling home. This is a nightmare scenario because they can't afford to lose the time, even with the 5-second handicap that Lovisi and Al Rafai have.
Yeah, you've got to assume that Federico Al Rafai is going to be flying in the second part of this race, as Babini again looks very, very racy against Ludovico Laurini. And again, we'll be sloking up the slipstream. Laurini trying to break the toe down the front straight, moving from one side of the racetrack to the other. Flash of the lights from the chasing Tsunami car in second position. Typical racing driver, closes up under braking, pulls out to the outside. Surely Babini will be thinking about the exit, trying to straighten that Porsche up as quick as possible. There was just the smallest little squirm over the curbing for race leader Laurini there. Surely Babini's got to have his best run yet, and Laurini has to give the place back to Babini by order of race control. So presumably that's for the moment where he skipped over the chicane.
Yeah, just missed the corner altogether, didn't he, at the Rogier, as now we watch as Radinho Privitello move ahead of Jahid Faisal Karim, as well as Leonov, who's now in the pits. Glauco Solieri joining them. Jorge Cabezan steps in place of Annie Frozio, but still behind is Fabio Babini. Arturo Melgar sets the fastest lap of the race in his Mertel Ferrari. Babini having a look up the inside, still not forgiving the place. Here's Laurini, despite being ordered by race control. Will he do it on the Seraglio straight? That is the question. In comes Cabezas. Annie Frozio stepping out to the other Mertel Ferrari, all in yellow, the 85, as they look to get set to go again. As we watch now the leaders now once again stretch, and still Laurini defending, still obviously hasn't gotten the message about forgiving the place to Babini.
Laurini's really pushing his luck in terms of defensive driving here. I'm sure Babini is going to be on the radio complaining about that. You cannot dart across the racetrack like that on the way into a corner, but Babini soaking up the slipstream. They draw level once again onto the outside of Albretto. Corner goes Babini. No way through. Is there a room though for Luca Ludwig on the inside? Well, Ludwig is pit lane bound, as is Laurini. Babini carries on though, and so Ludwig closing right up to the back of the race vent car, getting it stopped to 60 kph.
How much does this cost Luca Ludwig in this opening stint? We'll have to wait and see, because obviously Lovisi's already come in. Al Rafai obviously back on track. So listen, we've got to look at the delta here and see how much time is gained and lost, because Fabio Babini may have the race lead. Melgar there too. All eyes as I'm looking at it on my screen.
I'll tell you what, let me put it to you this way, George. Last time around, Fabio Babini was mid-51. Arturo Melgar, who's just gone through to second place about clean air, just did the fastest lap of the race, 1.4 seconds quicker than Babini while he was squabbling. And so, and Babini's gone deep into the second chicane as well, kicked up a little bit of the gravel that's there now on the... Arturo Melgar, really aggressive on the curbs in second position and absolutely flying out there at the moment. He's 4.6 seconds back from the race leader as the driver change is complete down at race vent. That number 26 car, I believe it's taking a handicap, or it should be anyway, but we'll see where they come out. The Luka Ludwig car is just making its way out of pit lane now, just behind the race vent. Yep, there we can see Ivan Velasco now aboard, and now is he going to come out ahead of the Ian Rodriguez, and Al-Rafai in the back of shot as well, but Ian Rodriguez in that, Giovanni Berton in the number 27 car it is, just behind Ivan Velasco, who is going for his second GT Cup Open Europe title. He won it last year with Jorge Cabezas, now with Luka Ludwig at the wheel. Babini now bound for pit lane, only 1 minute and 30 left on the driver change window, so he has to come in, as does Arturo Melgar in the number 84. So Babini handing over to Davide Scanicchio, Arturo Melgar handing over to Stefano Bozzoni for the remainder of this race. Nathan Braun's also in pit lane now to hand over the number 52 Q1 Track Racing Porsche to Laurent van der Velde. Filippo Ridoni, who should also come in as well, to hand over to Eduardo Bugan. And then it'll be Ian Rodriguez who retakes the lead of the race ahead of Velasco, ahead of Berton. Al-Rafai could come out in about 4th position here.
Well, if he keeps lapping the way he is, obviously 1:51.504 was his last lap, and I would argue that those tyres probably aren't quite up to temperature just yet.
Sorry, my mistake. It's not Stefano Bozzoni in the 84. It is Alba Vasquez, new teammate for Arturo Melgar this weekend, of course. But Ivan Velasco, first of all, he's got to contend with that number 27 car. Now, this is where we have to get a little bit technical and say that that 27 car, we need to almost completely ignore it in terms of points-paying positions as Davide Scanicchio rejoins the race. Maybe they'll come out in the lead of the race. In fact, I think they will.
I think they will.
So Davide Scanicchio comes out into the lead of the race. The gentleman driver, I doubt he'll hang on to it for very long. But he is in the lead ahead of Ian Rodriguez. But yes, that 27 car, the guest entries in final races to avoid teams just coming in and putting in a bunch of entries to try and block their rivals, they're not allowed to score points, nor are they taking points away from anyone else. So when we do the championship mathematics later on, completely ignore the number 27 car. So whether Velasco loses a place to Berton or not, it makes no difference in terms of the championship.
No, not at all. It's all
and that's probably good because Velasco's just gone across the road.
Yeah, Velasco just cutting away just off the circuit. We got a movement side by side as now we watch Scanicchio and just tussling there, coming through the Lesmo section. As now we watch the cars head through towards Lesmo 2. We're just waiting to see. I'm just looking on my screen at Al-Rafai once again. He set a 1:50.909, so he's gone even faster than where he did before. And in comparison to where Velasco's time sits, obviously we'll find that out when he comes up towards the line. But I can't imagine it's going to be very quick because he's currently being held up by Porsches right in front of him. So this could very easily land in favour of Federico Al-Rafai, who still has an 8.5 second gap to try and plug in. But just look at Velasco on the escape, coming out of the Ascari chicane. He's going to run side by side with Davide Scanicchio on the run down through towards the final corner. And Ian Rodriguez, whilst of course he does take the lead of the race, we have of course factored in now Scanicchio's in second, but he's just lost that now as Velasco moves up into second place. Scanicchio down in third, Berton in fourth.
Yeah, I'm sure Berton will make a move as well now on Scanicchio. Car 81 has been caught for speeding in the pit lane, which is the Stephen Licorice oh God, who was driving that car at the start of the race? Mauro Trentin. So the car that was leading in AM, now with Stephen Licorice at the wheel, has been done for speeding in pit lane, and that is a drive-through penalty for them. Yet more dramas for the Myrtel team. They've lost a car, and or they've lost 2 cars in fact, and it's more drama for the AM leader as well. So it is now Laurent van der Velde, I think, who's come out in the lead. Dieter Schwepp's second, and very much in a championship securing position in second place in the category. So we're on board here with Velasco, who's only 1.6 seconds behind Ian Rodriguez. Giovanni Berton still just half a second away from the Spaniard. So he's in the meet in a race event sandwich here. Skinicho in fourth, Federico Arafai now only 7.1 seconds back, and that is more drama for the Mark Speakervos car. Leon Chen got aboard that car, so they did at least manage to get it into pit lane to do the driver change, but clearly there is still more problems out there for that number 82 machine. And where is it stopped? I wonder if it's at somewhere near Ascari, because it seems to be yellow flags out there. And yes, it's on the exit of here, isn't it? On the left-hand side. I'm sure we're about to see it. There we go. Oh, he's got it going again. Still in limp home mode, but the yellow flags can at the very least be rescinded and replaced with white flags to warn of a slow-moving car. So just under 18 minutes left on the clock. Currently, Velasco is in championship taking position here, even if he sticks behind the Rodriguez car, because Federico Arafai needs to outscore the Mertel Ferrari to have a hope of it, and would have to do so by 4 points as well.
Well, he's the only driver aside. Well, say that Ivan Velasco's just jumped in and posted the fastest lap of the race with a 1:49.892. So that's the perfect way to try and counteract the efforts here from Federico Arafai to immediately steal the championship crown away from him. Let's take a look here. This is the replay of the car that we saw Leon Chen at the wheel of this one, peeling off to the side of the road. Looked like he was going to peel off for a brief moment, but then came straight back out on track, but has got the car back going again, so no concerns for now, and confirmation of the fastest lap there for Ivan Velasco, who takes it with a 1:49.892 as he now goes on the hunt of Ian Rodriguez for the race lead here at Monza. Into the pits. Now, this is the white Mertel of Stephen Licorice. Yeah, serving that drive-through. Obviously, the penalty that was revealed by race control earlier on as they now head down the Seraglio Straight.
And George, remember that the 26, Ludovico Larini, was told to give the place back to Fabio Babini. He never did. So that car has now been given a 3-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage at the hands of Ian Rodriguez now. So that does effectively put Ivan Velasco into the lead of the race. Mertel could yet round out this season with a 4th win of the season to clinch the crown.
Yeah, could be a huge result for them. Obviously, they've already scooped up 4 podiums, but to make it 4 wins and 5 podiums, that would be special. Getting very close. The last time they actually scored a podium was Paul Ricard race 1. It's unbelievable to think, but they've scored regular points since then. It was a run of P4s and 1 P5 and a P10 last time out in race 1 at Monza here yesterday, but looking to come back this time and land the big prize here at Monza. And a win to coincide as we just see a little bit of paintwork just coming off the Mertel Ferrari, getting very close to Rodriguez, heading in towards turn 1, but doing enough on the brakes to ensure that he remains behind the Porsche as they now exit and through towards Curva Grande. Baton now 2.2 behind Velasco, so the pace favouring Velasco at this stage. Dieter Schweppes has jumped Alba Vazquez for that 8th place, so that now moves the AM runner up to AM 2nd, and those are our 2 championship should I say Van Dierendonck was one of the other championship contenders. He's out of it, but Schweppes looking to secure that confirmation regardless nonetheless by taking that AM win if he can chase after Van der Velde. Arafai up to 4th though.
Yep, so that's up 1 place, but he needs to get onto the back of this battle. It's still 7.3 back from Giovanni Berton. Last time around, Ivan Velasco did the fastest lap of the race once again. And so the pace is very much in favour of Mertel. And there is some sort of paint, there's a bit of vinyl missing off the front of that Mertel Ferrari. It looks like a bit of a chipped tooth almost as he makes his way down towards Ascari. Now, of course, he doesn't have to pass Ian Rodriguez, who has been out in previous races in the SP Porsche in GT Cup Europe. Of course, the Guatemalan 23-year-old who has also been competing in prototype machinery of late in the European Le Mans Series with Team Virage, but getting a little bit more GT experience as well, having recently made the crossover from single-seaters, racing up to the Formula Regional Americas Championship and IndyPro 2000 over on the other side of the pond. But currently being closed in on by Ivan Velasco. Although that being said, on that previous lap, Rodriguez returned the 7, pulled another 3.5 tenths of lead. So the gap back up to 0.8. and this pair now 2.7 clear of Giovanni Berton. Velasco doesn't need to pass Rodriguez, not for the championship, not even to win the race as well. Just needs to stick within 3 seconds of that race vent car.
Yeah, doesn't need to risk it all at the moment. Obviously, it's looking like it's in his hands, but bear in mind, we still have 13 minutes and 15 to go. Rodriguez driving a very good race so far, making his way through towards Lesmo 1 with the Ferrari in hot pursuit. And we saw Jorge Cabezas moving up to 9th not too long ago. Of course, Dieter Schweppes in front of him, chasing the AM title. And with Van Dieren Donk obviously out of the race, that pretty much hands it in his favour. There's Luca Ludwig, who's had a very busy weekend, filled with motor races and helicopter rides. And once more here today at Monza, but not as stressful as it was yesterday. But after that incredible stint to certainly hand Velasco a great chance of taking the crown together, it looks like they're on the path to victory.
This is probably the first time this weekend he's been able to just sort of sit and relax. He hasn't had to jump straight into the helicopter to go back to Imola. His weekend's done now, so he can sit back and watch Ivan Velasco bring home the Drivers' Championship. When I spoke to Mertal team principal Mario Grumt just before the start of the season, I asked him to, give me a bit of backdrop on, who your drivers are, what's new for this year. Obviously, they came here with an army of cars for this year, expanding from, 2, maybe 3 cars at times last year to have up to 7 cars at times throughout the year. It's a huge undertaking. And he said to me, oh yeah, that number 80 with Luca and Ivan, their only job is to defend the Drivers' Championship. And it seems like that is what they're going to do. This was the lead changing hands in the AM category, with Dieter Schweppes moving past Laurent van der Velde for 7th position overall. And Schweppes very much on course now to be crowned AM champion alongside Leandro Martins, as Velasco brought the gap back down to 0.4 of a second, took 3/10 out of race leader Rodriguez last time around. But I don't know about you, George, but I'd be happy to just sort of sit back at the back of that Porsche, maybe save a little bit of fuel, just make sure I get to the finish. Yeah,
I think that'll obviously be on his mind. Of course, Ivan Velasco, whilst I'm sure he would love to take the overall victory, he knows what's at stake in terms of the championship and would hate for it to fall apart at the hands of a battle between he and Ian Rodriguez over the race win here at Monza here in race 2, though currently will stand tall on a podium, and it'll, like I said, it'll be the first podium they obtained since Paul Ricard in that race 1 affair. 10 minutes and 45 now left to run. Berton 4.2 in behind. Federico Alrifai trying to dig deep into that delta. Looking at the time gaps last time around, it was a 1:50.102. He was nearly 8.5 tenths faster now, as we have a bit of a complication with the Street Art Ferrari that's currently holding on to the inside. The car's having to dodge and weave around it, so whether there's a problem there, I'm not quite sure. But as we now watch the R01 Porsche now sprinting down towards the Rogier chicane, Florentin Zescu managing to uproot Alba Vazquez on the run down now towards the Alboreto corner. But it's still Rodriguez out in front, Velasco with one hand alongside Luca Ludwig on the title.
So slightly further back, Florentin Zescu currently running in a podium position in the AM category. Does have Alba Vazquez for pretty close company out there at the moment in 10th and 11th overall, as Jorge Cabezas has moved up to 8th position in the number 85 Mertel car. I think that's going to be that car's best finish of the season, and potentially first points. Oh no, not quite first points. They have scored in Portimao and Hockenheim, but it's been a long time since Annie Frozio's car was inside the top 10. So that'll be a great result for them, and yeah, would match their best result of the season as well. Although I would imagine that Jorge Cabezas will set about trying to usurp Dieter Schweppes for 7th position as well. And so Florentin Zescu, I think they could be on for their first, third podium for Florentin Zescu this year in the Romanian Porsche from R01 racing. That is, of course, if Glauco Solieri doesn't have anything to say about it as well, because the Italian is currently lapping faster than not only Alba Vasquez in front of him, but also Tincescu in third position in the AM category. So here is Federico Aurifai currently in fourth position, and it's closing up the gap to Giovanni Berton. It was over 7 seconds. It is now 4.8. Let's see what it is when they get across the timing line. Yeah. 4.4 now for Aurifai, but 8 minutes left on the clock, and even if he passes Giovanni Berton, he's not gaining any points, and he needs to be ahead of Velasco. So it doesn't seem like there's anything much in the power of Aurifai to be able to stop Mertel from winning this championship.
Yeah, even so, with the 149 that he managed to register in his own right. Ian Rodriguez, though, taking the fastest lap with his very own 149.611. Ivan Velasco doing a 6.98, obviously getting a nice, useful toe off the back of Ian Rodriguez. By the same token, Giovanni Berton doing well in third too. It's going to be a good third place, but obviously no championship points scored in this fray. But Federico Aurifai, obviously, despite not being in proximity to be anywhere near challenging this title right now, needs to be in front of Ivan Velasco here at this stage in order to clinch the crown at the very least. But it looks like Velasco, who's just trying to keep it calm, cooled, controlled, just maintain the pace, doesn't need to overexert the car in any way, shape or form as he now flies in towards the Ascari. We've got 7 minutes and 10 left. Dieter Schwepp starting to build a gap ahead of Jorge Cabezas as well in 7th place with a 2.7 gap then to Davide Scanicchio, which I'm sure he could yet hoover up here before the end of the race. So Schweppes could find himself in P6 before far too long, and maybe even challenge Evgeny Leonov for P5.
Very much on the cards here. There's quite a bit of a gap between Leonov and Aurifai, about 14 seconds or so. Rodriguez did do the fastest lap of the race last time around, 49.611. And this time around, it's a little bit slower, but again, Velasco just taking a 10th out of race leader Rodriguez that time. Gap still 0.6 of a second with 6.5 minutes remaining. Of course, Velasco just needs to get that car to the checkered flag. This should be the easiest 6 minutes of Velasco's life, or his racing life anyway. Not much more to do, but just bring the car home. With Aurifai continuing to close in on Giovanni Berton, 3.7 seconds now, the gap between the race vent and the GDL Porsche. Of course, they'd bow out, or they'd like to bow out with a podium finish. GDL, after a very intense title campaign. Two young drivers in the very early stages of their GT career. Federico Aurifai moving over from single-seaters at the start of the year. Matteo Lovisi only in his 2nd year of car racing. So two young guns, almost complete opposite to the Velasco and Ludwig combination. Much more experienced pairing out there. And a champion driver in the form of Luca Ludwig as well.
They'll be looking to equal the number of podiums with Nicholas Seilensteiners Longin, who currently holds 6 up to the point of their retirement from this race. Matteo Lovisi and Federico Aurifai currently on 5. So if they can bunny hop above Giovanni Berton, obviously that would help, but still a 3-second gap is quite a gulf to challenge with 5 minutes still to go. Rodriguez still out in front, 0.9 of a second ahead of Ivan Velasco, who looks set to do the incredible. Schweppes now moves up into 6th, so has broken ahead of Davide Scanicchio and only has 1.3 to find on Evgeny Leonov. And based on the previous lap times, lapping faster than Leonov by nearly a whole second. So it's going to favour him. There he is in picture, and there's Leonov just leading this train down through towards the Curva Alboreto. And I just want to say, with regards to Velasco, every chance now to do something that hasn't been done before in the GT Cup Open Championship, and that is go back-to-back with championships here in the series.
So it's Scanicchio down to 7th now. Jorge Cabezas arriving on the scene as well. Outgoing champion, of course, alongside Velasco from last year. He's going to try and clear Scanicchio as quick as possible and then get himself on the back of Dieter Schweppes. There's still positions to be gained here with Evgeny Leonov. To be honest, I'm surprised that car's still running after the whack it took from Nicolas Salins at the start of the race, and he's done a great job to get it into 5th position at all. Once again, Evgeny Leonov is the unluckiest driver in the field, but he's still got a fight on his hands with Dieter Schweppes closing him down. And now Jorge Cabezas, who is clear of Davide Scaniccio and into 7th place.
Be a nice bounce back from Leonov. Obviously race won yesterday, finished in 6th, so this will be at least a place above should he finish in 5th, but Dieter Schweppes is going to try and stop that from happening and try and enlist a back-to-back 6th place finish for Leonov. 17.7 between Leonov and Al Rifai, so there's no chances of anything higher than this, really, with 3 minutes and 20 to go. And still Davide Scaniccio lapping reasonably well as well, but starting to drop down quite consistently and losing delta here on Dieter Schweppes at the moment. And Jorge Cabezas also in between them with a second golfing Schweppes and Cabezas as they now fly through the Ascari chicane. But Velasco now outside 1.3 seconds, and an error there from Evgeny Leonov, which will hand a welcoming hand to the Porsche in behind belonging to Dieter Schweppes as they now send it down towards Kerber Alboreto. 2 minutes and 45 remain. And surely that will be 2 laps of racing left in this race. Al Rifai registering a 1:49.044, fastest lap of the race so far. And that will certainly help in trying to close up to the back of Berton, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, even though actually it's 1.4 seconds now.
Yeah, and he was 1.4 seconds quicker on the previous lap.
Yeah, so it could happen.
So yeah, it could still do. There they are. Lead gap has stretched out to over a second for the first time in quite a while. So Ian Rodriguez and Ludovico Larini looking a little bit more set for victory now, but not quite entirely settled yet who's going to be on the podium with them. I'm sure Federico Al Rifai will be hurling everything and the kitchen sink at Berton to try and usurp the Italian. The leaders head towards Ascari for the penultimate time. We will be going on to the final lap of the race next time around, the final tour of Monza to close out the 2024 GT Cup Europe campaign. Al Rifai continues to eat into the lead of Giovanni Berton. That last spot on the podium now separated by just 0.7 of a second. It was another purple middle sector for Al Rifai last time, and he's already on the headlight flash button on the steering wheel, trying to distract Berton. And if Al Rifai isn't going to be winning this championship, he's not going down without a fight, that is for sure. Final lap of the season now underway, with Rodriguez leading by 1.2 seconds over champion in waiting Ivan Velasco, but Giovanni Berton lost another 0.9 of a second to Federico Al Rifai, who closes a lot under braking for the Rettifilio on the exit of the chicane. It will be Al Rifai in the slipstream on the way around the Curva Grande. Surely the Italian will be having a look on the run into the second chicane. They're going to run side by side very nearly. Al Rifai looking for the inside line, can't quite find it. That was probably one of the best overtaking opportunities left on the racetrack, but gets an excellent exit out of the second Lesmo, and Berton has to defend tight towards the inside at the second Lesmo. Getting very tight between these two cars now as they round the Lesmos for the final time. Has Al Rifai just been able to find a bit of an overlap there? Oh, not quite. Gets his nose chopped across there by the Italian, who runs out into the gravel trap on the exit of the corner, and that's a clean move for Federico Al Rifai.
Fantastic move for Federico Al Rifai, confirming his place on the podium at least for now, but Ivan Velasco will now cruise through the Ascari chicane. Despite it not necessarily being victory here in this case, it will be, I'm sure, happiness down at Myrtle with a championship in the offing and back-to-back championships for Ivan Velasco as well after a huge year last year with Jorge Cabezas.
Well, it will be victory, George. He's still within 3 seconds of Ian Rodriguez. True. He's got that time penalty to contend with, so Ian Rodriguez will win on the road, but that 3-second time penalty means that Ivan Velasco and Luka Ludwig end the season with victory to claim the 2024 GT Cup Europe Drivers' Championship. It is back-to-back titles for Myrtle and Ivan Velasco in GT Cup Europe. A sensational performance all year round for the number 80 crew. Their backs were up against the wall this weekend. Federico Al Rifai will finish in 3rd position. just missing out on the championship in the end for GDL alongside Matteo Levisi. Across the line comes Dieter Streps in the 911 Racar Porsche to take the AM Championship as well for the Portuguese outfit. And there is the Mertel team, Mario Grumt being embraced by his mechanics, the team principal, with Miriam Messerschmidt, the team manager there as well, celebrating an incredible year in GT Cup Europe once again, and it is back-to-back drivers' titles for them. Back-to-back for Ivan Velasco as well, who won last year with Jorge Cabezas, now with Luka Ludwig. And suddenly, all of that planning to get Luka Ludwig between here and Imola, the helicopter rides, the stress, the disappointment of yesterday's race, all seems worth it.
Well done, Mario Grumt. Well done, Mertel Motorsport. There were seeds of doubt put in place yesterday after looking ahead to the race this afternoon, but you know, ahead of it all, they've managed to successfully succeed. Obviously, after the safety car, there's always going to be flickers of question marks, doubts entering the mind's eye. But Velasco ensured there was no doubt. And credit to Luka Ludwig for that opening stint as well. He's had a hectic weekend coupled with Ferrari competition elsewhere at Imola. But now here this time around, taking part in all the action here at Monza. He has aided Ivan Velasco to back-to-back championship glory. There we are, confirmed champions. Luka Ludwig, Ivan Velasco successfully take the GT Cup Europe competition crown in 2024. And it's a victory, again, for Mertel Motorsport.
His former teammate giving the thumbs up and a salute from Jorge Cabezas. So after the 3-second time penalty is applied, it is Ludwig and Velasco who end the season with victory to seal the championship. Larini and Rodriguez second in the end for RaceFed, with Federico Arafai and Matteo Levisi completing the podium ahead of Peroni and Berton. Leonov did hold on to 5th position in the end, 6th, and the AM victory for Leandro Martins and Dieter Streps gives them the championship ahead of Davide Skinnicher and Fabio Babini. Jorge Cabezas and Annie Frozio back in the points for the first time since Hockenheim. On the AM podium is Laurent van der Velde and Nathan Bronze, along with Camille Perian and Florentin Cescu, their third podium of the season. Glauco Salieri in 11th, ahead of Licorice and Trentin, Melgar and Vasquez. Priviatello in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, 14th in the end, ahead of Rodino. Michaelian, the last car across the line. We lost Jahid Fazal Karim, Leon Chen, Tommaso Lavati, Nico van Dierendonk, Johannes Zelga and Nicolas Eilens in a very dramatic championship finale for both the Pro-Am and the AM. The final results then are that Ivan Velasco and Luka Ludwig are 8 points clear of Matteo Levisi and Federico Arafai. Nicolas Eilens and Stinas Long in what could have been had Salins not made contact early on in the race and taken themselves out at the first time of asking. Evgeny Leonov tied on points in the end with Zander Prisbalak and Lars Zanen as well in 4th. Of course, the Q1 pair ahead on countback owing to their victories earlier in the season. But now pulling into Parc Ferme, and Ian Rodriguez, I think initially was aiming for the number 1 slot, and someone had to tell him, no, park up in the number 2 slot, please. As Velasco pulls in. I think Rodriguez is still trying to get into the number 1 spots there, but it is Velasco who will have the number 1 spot, and already the Mertel mechanics are there on the scene, slamming on the car. Matteo Levisi is the first to congratulate or commiserate Federico Arafai, but the celebrations at Mertel already starting with Velasco embracing his mechanics.
What an occasion for Mertel Motorsport. I'm sure there'll be a congratulations from Jorge Cabezas as well. Standing tall on the car, it's Ivan Velasco and Luka Ludwig, your champions, everybody. What an occasion for Velasco, who, like I said before, seeds of doubt were creeping in at Mertel, but they made sure there was no doubt and capitalized coming towards the very end. Huge credit as well to Ian Rodriguez for a fantastic P2 finish as well. An incredible job on his part to achieve that. And of course, Ludovico Larini as well, after qualifying on pole position, and the tears are flowing by the looks of it as well. Obviously absolutely delighted, and a great occasion for Larini as well at a home circuit. Of course, the Italian national taking part here in this race this weekend, or certainly across the weekend, and coupled now with big
Yeah.
Big celebrations at Mertel with Mario Grump, the team boss, giving Velasco a huge hug. He is absolutely thrilled.
There's going to be good Reels content, I'm sure, there as Alba Vasquez congratulates countryman Ivan Velasco for the championship. You see Elise there getting the content for the Mertel team, getting the congratulations as well. And there's Luka Ludwig. It's probably the most relaxed he's been all weekend. But the top three in the championship finale for the GT Cup Europe, Federico Arifai and Matteo Levisi, just missing out on the crown, but a third place finish for the GDL pairing. Rounds out a very strong season for them. Race event on the podium with Ludovico Larini and Ian Rodriguez after that 3-second time penalty. The winners to seal the 2024 crown are Luka Ludwig and Ivan Velasco in the number 80 Mertel Ferrari. They are downstairs with Alfredo. Hopefully we'll hear from them very shortly. I'm sure Alfredo is doing his best to break up the celebrations and get them into the correct position. Of course, emotions do tend to run quite high, and it's tough to get the drivers away from their mechanics to go and get the necessary interviews. But of course, you have the top three in AM just behind them as well. Now we can hear from our race winners and champions.
So, and this is the end of the season in the GT Cup Europe, and we have champions Luka Ludwig and Ivan Velasco. Ivan Velasco is champion for the second year in a row, and Luka is first time. So we start with Luka. How was it? It was a difficult weekend for you.
Yeah, it was a tough weekend for me with driving in Imola and Monza, but extremely happy of the whole team, proud of Iman. Great job, great weekend, and to end up the season with a victory is just amazing.
Well done, guys. And Ivan, you have learned English in the meantime, or Spanish. So, happy?
Yeah, very happy. Bueno, la verdad que ha sido una temporada, creo que la más difícil de mi vida y la victoria más satisfactoria de mi vida, porque hasta la última carrera, el último momento, la última vuelta, no sabíamos si íbamos a ganar el campeonato o no. Sobre todo agradecer el gran trabajo de mi compañero Luka por toda la temporada que hemos hecho, mi equipo por el gran coche que nos había puesto y no haber tenido fallos ni nada. La verdad que súper contento.
Of course, Ivan is saying, yeah, kudos to Luka, to the whole team. It was a very difficult season, and title decided at the last lap of the last race, and therefore more satisfaction because of that. Well done, guys. Enhorabuena.
Thank you very much.
That way.
Let's take a look back at how they managed to do it then. It was a very chaotic start indeed, with Nicola Salins getting involved, first of all with Fabio Barbini, then with the pole sitter Larini as well. Nathan Braun's coming a cropper out there as well. Salins made contact with Evgeny Leonov as well, and eventually skated off the roads. The championship leader going into this final race out before we even completed a single lap. We had big dramas in the AM Championship as well, with Nico van Dierendonk taking himself out of the running after contact with Johannes Zelga. A great lead battle ensued. A 3-second time penalty was rewarded to the number 26 car for that moment, as they did not yield the place back to Fabio Barbini before they came into the pits. Ivan Velasco took over the number 80 Mertel car, as Davide Scanicchio was passed first of all by Luka Ludwig and then by Giovanni Berton after the pit stop cycle. Velasco went after and pursued Ian Rodriguez, but of course there was a time penalty for them, as a last lap moment for Giovanni Berton allowed Federico Arifai into a podium position. But it was Velasco leading after the 3-second time penalty for Ian Rodriguez to end the season with a 4th victory of 2024, and also the Drivers' Championship for Mertel, back-to-back for the German outfit, back-to-back for Ivan Velasco as well. They celebrated in Parc Ferme, and rightly so as well, with Dieter Streps and Leandro Martins sealing the AM Championship as well for the Portuguese Racar team. They also rounded out their season with victory in their class as well.
Yeah, spectators now starting to filter out of the grandstand and obviously want to see the sights at Parc Ferme, because now the podium celebrations will get underway. Take nothing away from Federico Al-Rifai and Matteo Levisi, standing tall third on the podium. They have had a remarkable season. They have done their utmost to challenge Ivan Velasco and Luka Ludwig, and Luka Ludwig paying his respects across as well to the team. In fact, I should say, similar haircuts, not quite the same person, unfortunately. It was Ian Rodriguez. There is Luka Ludwig, and does indeed goes and shakes the hands of the GDL Porsche lineup. And remarkable feat.
It's Mario Grumt, the Mertel team principal, who has joined them on the podium as the Mertel representative. And we will hear for the team the German national anthem. Was nice for Luka Ludwig as well, German racer, to hear the national anthem after his championship victory. And they've already got the shirts out with Mario and Luka donning the championship victory t-shirts. I always think that's really brave to do, because does that mean that Q1 and GDL have suddenly got a big box of t-shirts that they're going to try and shift?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, they did what was necessary, I think, regardless, and they can enjoy it. That's what it's all about, you know. Michelin representatives once more presenting the trophies, and on a day where we find out Michelin continue with us for another 3 years. Fantastic news. Beyond 10 years now we will go. Well done to Ludovico Larini, as well as Ian Rodriguez, standing on the second place podium spot. Fantastic race on their part, and the winners' trophies presented to Ivan Velasco and Luka Ludwig, champions-elect here in 2024. And for Velasco, that's 2023 and 2024 in succession. And championship CEO Jesus Pereira will hand Mario Grumt the champion teams, or I should say the winning teams trophy, here in this case at Monza.
That's saluting the drivers' champions as he went past Luka Ludwig and Ivan Velasco there as well. And, well, I do the same. Salute you too, because what a season. 4 victories in the end for them.
And a Ferrari wins at Monza again.
Yes, absolutely. Ferrari on top, German outfit running the team. But, of course, the Italian machinery, it's always nice to see winning at Monza, as Matteo Levisi, the first to soak his rivals in the championship, and the champions with the champagne. Race event getting in there with the champagne as well. It's been a very good weekend for them, because the team that we normally see out in Italian GT competition. And so we move on to the AM championship as well. Nathan Braun's giving a little wave there. Oi, Lauren, give a wave to the camera, he's saying. In French, obviously. I know I'm learning, but I haven't quite learnt what that is yet.
Fantastic, obviously, and great for Dieter Schweppes as well as the Andrew Martins to go and take victory for Racar. They are, of course, AM champions now. And Laurent van der Velde, of course, a fantastic human being who is always competitive. Nathan Braun's standing alongside him. Obviously, absolutely thrilled, I'm sure, at the AM P2 that they've managed to obtain. And credit to RO1 Racing as well, the Romanian lineup of Florentin Zescu, Camel Perian that have come in this weekend. They too have been with this series now for a good few years, and obviously managing to obtain yet another fantastic result in all of this. As now the photos being taken at the moment. A few other drivers also getting ferried out. First and foremost, the Romanian outfit of the RO1 Racing team will take to the stage first. There is Camel Perian and Florentin Zescu making their way up to the third step of the podium. Absolutely delighted, I am sure. They themselves overall have been, well, they've been fighting out through the midfield pack, and they still relentlessly in perseverance of great results. They've achieved a great one here this time around. Laurent van der Velde, as well as Nathan Braun's, fantastic efforts so far through the course of this weekend. They've done some remarkable work this season overall, claiming some big points as well. Only very rarely outside the overall points, in fact. The only time they've missed out really is race 2 at Hockenheimring and race 2 at Spa, and not to mention race 1 at Barcelona. But they've had a tremendous season. And of course, race winners and champions, Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martins.
Yeah, so it's a third podium finish for the RO1 team, a third consecutive podium, 7th overall for Laurent van der Velde and Nathan Braun's, and a 7th win of the season for Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martins and the Racar team. That seals then the AM Championship for 2024. Incredible stuff, and that rounds out the 2024 GT Cup Europe campaign. From myself, George Morgan, and the entire GT Sport organisation, we thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the 26th of April for the 2025 season.